I've got like this part of my color here, and then let's say that I'm gonna also use this dirt in here as well. So I'm gonna duplicate this into its own node. And what I want to do is I'm going to maybe use another brighter color. So I'm going to get another blend. And you can start to see where you can go really, really far with this. And I'm going to undo that. Make sure you never have something selected when you're doing if you're adding another node, because it will add it to whatever's the last node that you have selected. It'll add the new node to that node. So I've got this, and what I want to happen with this is I want this to get blended with my color. And you'll see this one coming out here is gray, right? So we can do a conversion on this. And I'm doing this on purpose because I want to use my gradient map to convert this. So now this is seen as a color by the blend node. It's not going to put color in it. It just makes it appear to be color to the blend node so that it works properly. And with this blend node right here, I'm going to set this to, let's set this to lighten. No. Let's do multiply. And I'm going to actually do another HSL. So I'm going to click on this connection right here and just do HSL. And for this one, I'm going to change the lightness just a little bit brighter. And the last thing I'm going to use in here is going to be another blend node. And I'm going to blend this with this. And then go in here and change this to something that's going to let me see both of these. So I'll do like a linear dodge. That kind of looks like it's going to work. So now I've got all this. All this up here is just my color. So now when I plug this in here, you'll see that I'm getting my color on my actual jeans. So I've got my color coming in here, and looks like everything's working okay. I think that I want to change some things. I'm getting some really weird variations with a lot of things. So I don't like this like tiger pattern that's showing up in here. So I can go back and adjust maybe how some things are working together. So let's say I can change some of these around. And I don't think it's necessarily that's doing it. So let's multiply this. It's actually, so you can see what parts are being affected by what. And I think this is probably too dark. Yeah, that's too dark. Let's go back like this. And let's say maybe my values like this. I think the other thing is that I'm still seeing too much of this texture right here. So let's turn up my tiling of this. So when I back off of this, you know, so I've got like more of an acid wash jean as opposed to what I did last time, which was more of a regular denim. So I've got like a more of an acid wash looking jean to this. But looking at this, the actual texture of this, it feels like the jean material that I want. I'm gonna go down here to my normals. I can turn my normals up, so the intensity of the normal node can be turned up. I'm gonna do this at like right there. And then those are my normals. And then also I can come in here and change like my specularity. So this is my spec. I'm going to bring this histogram a little bit more in range. And then I also have the glossiness factor. So got to remember that there's glossiness too. So I'm going to go here to glossiness, and you can see I can make it super reflective or make it more matte in texture. Now, the other thing that's really cool about Substance Designer is that I can use these nodes, and I think that looks better. So I can tell now what's really affecting what. And I think that this HSL right here, I'm going to bring down the lightness of this just a bit. So this is better. And let's bring down the normal. I think it's a little too high. Yeah. So now look at this at the distance. I can see, you know, it's got a texture going on here. There's some interesting things going on with this texture. You know, I think that the mesh in here, I really don't need that as much. I'm going to back that off a little bit. And I'm going to take the weave and turn it up. I'm going to make it beweavable. Maybe let's go to something really high. Let's actually type in the number that we want. So got that going on. So, you know, that's the other thing about this, is that you need to make sure these values actually are the same. Because if you change it for color, you need to make sure everything else is the same too. So this weave is now 10. This weave now needs to be 10. So you want the actual color information to match up with your other values, which is what I'm doing. So that's random seed. That's good. That's good. So everything now is kind of working the way that I want, and this, you can see this mass. This guy is not massive, but it's pretty big. So I'm just going to select all this stuff up here, and I'm going to comment this, and the comment is going to be, you know, albedo channel. And I can come in here and select this too, and I can also set a frame around this, and the frame can be albedo textures, and I get a frame. That's just kind of it. And then the cool thing about it is everything is inside of that frame, so I can drag these guys in here. You see if they're inside the frame, they stay in there. So I can move big chunks of this shader around at one time. So I like to come in here and organize this stuff just so I know what in the heck's going on. And you can leave individual comments on pieces of your shader, which is always nice as well. So I'm just going to get this to where I can make rhyme and reason out of it. And there we go. That kind of makes a little bit more sense to me. So now I can see I can move this around and all the albedo moves. So then I can have this right here is going to be you can give it whatever naming convention you want to, but I'll just do this, and all this stuff right here will be normal, spec, glossy. Now I could leave somebody else a note and tell what that is. So NSG is the normal specular and glossiness channels. So I've left a note, right, for myself or for another artist that comes along to make changes to this. And it's really cool because you want to be able to leave yourself this information so when you come back to this, you can know what's doing what. It's nothing more frustrating than having something and not remembering what in the hell it does after you've already made it. And then you're kind of just, floating around out there. Um, so I'm going to pin this stuff here and just call this channel outputs. I don't know why I broke that up into two things. Channel outputs. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to grab these guys right here and actually drag these guys out because those are not really a part of the output channels. Let's bring these together. So you can grab the individual channels inside of a frame and move them around, which is really nice. And then resize your frame. And do it like that. So now I've got that, I can move around. And then these are here are going to be channel tweaks. So I'm just going to select all these, and here these are going to be channel tweaks. So I've got everything kind of organized, broken up, and I'm actually very happy with what this is coming out to be. I'm going to make my texture a little bit larger because right now my texture is only 256 because that's what's coming out of this last node. So I'm going to bump this up to a 2K texture. So let's make sure that what's coming out of this is 2K. So I've got a 2K texture coming out of this. And that's pretty cool. I've got everything kind of broken up. Got stuff pinned. This is, for me, this is the proper way to work inside of Substance Designer. This is the same way I kind of try to work inside of Hypershade, inside of Maya. Try to keep myself notes and keep containers and things like that, just because on larger scale productions, if you have not adopted these work methods, then you're gonna have to pay some catch up because for a large scale production, this is going to be the method. If they have a pipeline already figured out, then they've already got a lot of conventions that are going to be done the way they want them done. And I've just gotten used to the point of trying to always think about working in a studio environment. Even when I'm doing my own personal stuff, I try to break this stuff up because I never know if I'm going to use these or if I'm going to sell these. I could sell this this shader network that I've made here, and I could give it to someone else. So letting them have instructions of how things work is probably the best thing to do. Now, something else is really cool. Now, if you notice, I used one color to drive my to drive all the colors inside of my shader. So I did that on purpose. So I can bring the size of this down because realistically, it's just the color. Like, so it doesn't really have anything going on. It's just color. And I can bring the size of that down. It doesn't have to be super big because it's just color. And let's make sure that this outputs. Yep. So when you do that, you have to make sure your outputs are still the same. Now, if I had chosen absolute, absolute would have made every node in my entire network the same the actual same size, which is not very efficient because some things don't have to be as big as other things. And I found that out just from, over time. Some things can be smaller, some things can be bigger, and it doesn't really matter. Well, it matters, but sometimes you need more resolution, sometimes you need less resolution. Like right now, I need to probably make this bigger. And you'll see that's not really making that bigger. It's just keeping everything the same. So what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to add in a transform 2D node. And with this, then I can come in there and scale it like 1 or 2 times. There we go. And then back here with my blend, I am going to change the opacity of this maybe. Let's say I'm really just trying to find something I think works. Maybe that. Yeah, I like that a lot better. I think that does work a lot better. I don't know if I like that bright color. And I want to give more variation to this. And for my uniform color, maybe we'll bring its value down quite a bit. And now looking at this, I can see that this subtract is not really working the way that I want. So, what I was saying, the reason why I chose one uniform color and then used HSL kind of graphs coming off of it is that I can change the color of my jeans just by changing this original color. If I were to come in here and choose yellow, then I can change all of the colors inside of here at one time. So you can see I can get variations. By changing that one color, I'm driving the rest of the graph, which is actually pretty awesome. So I can come in here and choose like a really dark red, change my value, take my value down, take the saturation of it down maybe, and bring down the, so you can see I can quickly change up a texture just by making that one value change. Now, why is that important? Is because one, I can actually output this to a top level to make a tweakable node to be used inside of Maya or inside of Unreal. So one person can be making all the shaders for the entire game. And if I wanted to, I can make a tweak node for this. So I'm going to click on this, and then right here for my color output. So the color output, I'm going to come in here and right click on this, well, left click on this, and I want to say expose. And when I say expose, it's going to say select the name of the new input. It's going to be color output. I can just say a new name, and I'm going to say this is going to be Denim. And what am I looking at? So Denim color. And say OK. And then hit OK. So now you'll see I can no longer change the color inside of here. If I go to the top level of my shader though, you'll notice that at the top level of my graph, I actually am able to look at my input parameters. Let's delete that. That was by accident. So I have this denim color float 4. So right now this is a float. I can set it to a boolean. I can set it to an integer, and it can output as a RGBA, or I can output it as a slider, or whatever you want. So I can just do like color and then have a color picker. And what's really cool is that now at the top level of the shader, I can go back and I can readjust the color of the shader from this little made panel right here. So I can even come here and say pick a color, and then everything changes. So what's really cool is that this will now be exposed inside of Unreal. If I use this shader in Unreal, it would be exposed inside of Unreal. I could change that value without having Substance Designer. I can even change randomness of other nodes in here. So let's say that I want to be able to tweak the intensity of my normal mapping. I could come in here and say expose, and I'm just going to change this to be denim texture norm, or normal. Hit OK and hit OK. So what that does is it takes away, this value in here, but if I go back to my actual graph now, I will see that that value has been moved to the outside of my graph. So now I can see this is the normal for it. It has a slider. So you can set what the default value is going to be. So I can say the default value is going to be like 1. And then if I want to clamp it, and then I can say the max value. So the max value I could do would be like 3 or whatever. And I could turn up my normal value or turn it down, which is actually very cool that I can now do this all from just this one place. I'm going to put this at a step like right here. Now you can also make groups, and you can label this so whatever it shows up as. This is all for the programming basically of the shader. So you're basically building a realistic usable shader for games at this point. You're building a shader that you can reuse. I can do the same thing for my levels. So I could say specular. So I could come in here and come to my graph. And what's really cool is that for histogram, you could come in here and do all of these as individual ones. So I could say, I want to change all of these separately, or if I leave this like this, then I can expose the whole entire thing. You can do auto levels too, but you can expose all of these individually. So I can expose all of these by themselves and be able to get this kind of out of there. You can do that for all of these, and I could even come in here and output values like the weave. Let's say I wanted to change the tiling of this, so I come in here and I can say I can expose that. I could expose this and set 2 of these to the same value. So I could say weave 1 and weave 2 have a value of whatever, and basically output that same weave type to both of these. So I can do some really cool things with this. It's actually really awesome that that it lets you do this kind of programming inside of Substance Designer. So that was our gene material. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm going to be doing some more videos on some other shaders. They won't be as in-depth of talking about Substance, because we've already kind of gone through the interface. So the newer videos will be really more just about building individual shaders. But we'll do that in some of our other videos. And as always, if you like what you see, then hit the subscribe button down below so that we can keep making really cool stuff here on the channel. If you didn't like what you see, then leave a comment and say, hey, Dr. Media, I don't like that. But at least explain to me why you don't like it. Just don't tell me you don't like it because you don't like it. You know, you can say, hey, could you please explain more about this or explain more about that? Because realistically, as I've said before on this channel, the community of this channel is built because of community. And I love doing this type of stuff, and I'm glad that people are finding uses out of the work that I do. And hopefully it's going to help you get better at something that you're working on, or give you a refresher or something like that. I really do truly love excuse me. I really do truly love teaching. So it's always really cool when somebody can get some value out of what you are, spending your time making. And that's just a really cool endeavor. So anyway, until next time, try to enjoy the daylight. No, you know what? I can't even take credit for that. That is the old Tales from the Dark Side sign off, which is an awesome show. If you have never seen Tales from the Dark Side, then go see it. I think it's actually on DVD, or DVD. I think it's actually on Blu-ray right now. So go check out Tales from the Dark Side. I love that series. It was a really cool series from the late 80s. To me, it was just as good as Twilight Zone, but and Outer Limits. But some people just kind of never got to see the. They never got it. They never got to see the Tales from the Dark Side. I think Tales from the Dark Side is awesome. It's got a lot of awesome actors. Now it's kind of like Tales from the Crypt, which is another great series. As you can tell, I'm a horror buff. So anyway, until next time, my digital mutants, it is I, Delmico L. Cunningham, better known as Dr. Media. Until next time, guys.